What's going on? And welcome to the CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast. Woo! I'm your host, Ryan Phillip Lamb. Let's go clockwise. We've got Devan Christodoulou. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Thursday night football, love it. Everybody complained about that.
I can't
I loved
believe
it.
that. It's foot. How long have we been waiting for football? And what a game it was. Aetan Hensby, you enjoyed the game. How's it going?
Yeah, I didn't understand why people are being so down on it. I mean, I guess they were looking at last year's records, but these were two pretty evenly matched teams in terms of where they're at. They both have first overall quarterbacks. There was a lot of storylines in this game, and it led to a very, very entertaining game.
A lot of storylines and a lot of scoring. Randy Rutherford, what's going on, brother?
Just taking in the Thursday night football action and happy to be here.
Well, I'm definitely glad you're here. I'm glad that you're joining us for the podcast. Thank you. So Cleveland won 35-30 against the Bengals, and I got to tell you, it's funny. We had a bold predictions episode where I was talking about how Joe Burrow could end up being a top 10, top 12 quarterback in fantasy. Well, if you're if you're betting on that, you want to finish like this. So Joe Burrow get this. He scored in half point per reception, 32.53 fantasy points. That's crazy. He had 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, 20 first downs, and he had 7 rushing attempts for 19 yards. That's crazy. That's nuts. And this is his second game in the NFL. Now, everybody knew that Joe Burrow was going to be good, but he's a fighter. Dev, when you're taking a look at a quarterback like Joe Burrow, when was the last time we saw a first overall pick play like this? Was it Andrew Luck?
I think that the last time we've seen somebody get that familiar that quick and look that calm in the pocket and look so poised was Andrew Luck, to be honest with you. I was very impressed with Joe Burrow. He lost. He's on 2 L's now. But, I mean, I don't put a lot of the loss on him. He made some mistakes for sure, but I loved the overall effort from Joe Burrow and company.
I can't believe that Joe Burrow is only 71% rostered. After that performance, you got to go and pick him up next week for sure. What an amazing game. One of the things that I was kind of disappointed in, as far as the game is concerned, was the low usage of Joe Mixon. Do you think that we're looking at a trend regarding Joe Mixon, Dev?
He still had 16 rushing attempts, but his production on the 16 attempts was only 46 yards. So I think that's an O-line issue. What was always a concern, but when you see a running back get 16 attempts, you're never concerned. Also, he was 4 for 4 on passing attempts. So with 40 yards there. So with Joe Mixon, you saw him in this game in open spaces, being able to create extra yards for himself. And the guy's a pure talent. And I think it's only a matter of time before Joe Burrow, as you mentioned, figures out that Joe Mixon is one of his most talented players.
Yeah, it was kind of disappointing to see them going to Giovanni Bernard. He does not like being called Gio. But that being said, I'm really hoping that Joe Burrow will figure out that Joe Mixon is a fantastic pass catcher for sure. Like you said, he went 4 for 4 he caught every one of his targets. So that's the type of player that you can rely on every single down, and that's what you want from your running backs for sure. It might be a case that the talent won't be able to outweigh some of the deficiencies on the O-line or the team in general, but that receiving core, wow, I couldn't believe. It's funny because you look at the stat lines and you look at, say, like AJ Green, for instance, he ends up with 4.9.5 point per reception. He managed to get 13 targets, Aetan. He only caught 3 of them, but he looked spectacular.
Yeah, he kind of looked spectacular, but he also looked like he was just a little bit of a step slower than we're used to seeing because those 13 targets mean he had a lot of opportunity to make a lot of plays, but defenders were getting their hands in the plays or their bad throws. There seems to be some chemistry issue between Joe Burrow and AJ Green right now because he's seeing a lot of targets, but he's not bringing a lot of them in. So I don't know if this is AJ Green working off the rust of so many injuries over the last couple of years, or if this is just a communication thing between the two and they're not quite on the same page yet. But we're talking about a brand new rookie coming to the league, and you're talking about a very elite, talented wide receiver here. So I definitely feel like there's a lot of opportunity for improvement here, and I definitely foresee it. I mean, if you're an AJ Green owner, patience, patience, patience. These targets are going to start being completions, and you're going to start having a lot of success with it.
Absolutely. You look at Tyler Boyd, who is definitely one of the more popular players in that sort of AJ Green range, if you will. And it looks like they both have an opportunity to really excel this year. You've got, like I was saying, Tyler Boyd. He had 8 targets, 7 receptions for 73 yards and a touchdown. This receiving core is looking pretty deadly, Aetan.
Yeah, and also on top of that, you just mentioned Boyd's stats there. He caught a lot of tough catches. He showed that he can stand in and fight. On fourth downs, twice Joe Burrow went to him on the fourth down play, and he made very good. Like Joe Burrow's throws were spectacular on those fourth downs, and Boyd was strong to bring the ball down and hold on to it through some pretty big defensive resistance. It is kind of funny that you mentioned he did miss one pass, and it was a pretty bad drop, I think, for his sake. He normally catches those in, so he actually could have had a second touchdown if that one got caught. So I like what I'm seeing out of Tyler Boyd. I think he's definitely emerging as the number one receiver in this team, and he was last year when Green went out. So we'll see how this all plays out, but I'm actually on Team Boyd. I would rather have him than AJ Green at this stage, but there's definitely room for both of them to eat, especially if Burrow's going to throw the ball. What was it, 60 times today? 61?
Let's see. It was attempts. I'm not seeing them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
think
it was
61.
over. Yeah, it was a
over
record.
60.
Yeah,
No,
so
he's like second all time for attempts from a
Right.
rookie quarterback. Yeah.
61.
61. Thank you. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of room to eat, which is going to bring me up to the next point that I wanted to say. It looked like this Zuma, the tight end from Cleveland from Cincinnati was starting to get some rhythm, and he was looking pretty good out there. But then unfortunately, his Achilles snapped in the middle of the game. So it was an ugly looking injury. I definitely you could tell he was seriously hurt because he was on the ground pounding the turf. So hopefully he recovers pretty quick from that for his sake. But I think that there's a very, very, very sneaky upside on Drew Sample for a tight end here. If Joe Burrows is going to fling the ball 40 plus times a game, I think Drew Sample is going to have an opportunity to emerge as a very consistent tight end. So if you're sitting there looking at your team going, geez, I don't really like the position I put myself in, say you drafted an Evan Ingram, you might want to pick up Drew Sample because this guy looks like he could emerge into something special.
Yeah, he's only 1% rostered right now, so definitely very, very available for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the amazing things about Joe Burrow, and we're going to start with Joe Burrow, and we're going to end with Joe Burrow, is like I was saying before, he's a fighter. And he, like, regardless of like when the game looks like it's out of reach, you can't take your eyes away. The way he plays football is the reason why I watch football. Like he wants it. He wants it every single down, and it doesn't matter where he's at. Doesn't matter field position, score. He's fighting the entire time. So super entertaining, and that's amazing that we're talking so much about the losing squad. And if you're looking at the winning squad, the Browns, wow. 2 running backs with 2 touchdowns, of course, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. A lot of talk about the idea of whether Kareem Hunt would supplant Nick Chubb. Of course, maybe the Bengals helped them look a little bit better, but Nick Chubb definitely not dead, at least not from what we saw tonight, Randy.
Oh, absolutely not. The rumors of Nick Chubb's demise are so vastly overblown. I mean, this is an offense where you have two elite running backs, and in the right game script, both these guys are going to go off. I mean, this is not an every week occurrence, but you have two guys who just went off for 20 plus points in half PPR. And that's pretty amazing as far as running backs are concerned. I mean, if you're an owner of one or the other, yeah, you're probably a little disappointed. I mean, I have Nick Chubb in one league, Kareem Hunt in two leagues, and I look at this game and I started Nick Chubb and I was super happy in the first half, and then as Kareem Hunt started taking over, I was a little less happy. And I mean, it's just one of those things. Like these guys are both going to have roles, but they're both going to have big roles. They're elite talents. I don't think you have to worry if you have either of them. And heaven forbid an injury occurs, league winners.
Absolutely. You've got Nick Chubb, 22 attempts for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt with 10 attempts, 10 rushing attempts with 86 yards and a touchdown, but also with 2 targets, 2 catches, 15 yards and a touchdown. Which one would you rather have, though?
I mean, if we're going back to draft season, you got Nick Chubb at the tail end of the first round, start of the second round. You got Kareem in the usually fifth, maybe sixth. I mean, just based on that draft capital alone, I would rather Kareem Hunt, but I would be happy with both.
Well, that's a great response for sure. Dev, who are you liking better?
Well, I think I've said on this podcast that I said that there's a good possibility that Kareem Hunt would overtake Chubb for the job. I didn't think it would be so even so quickly. So I'm going to just stick with my pick because I thought it would happen a little bit later, but because they're so even, and from what I've seen with the eye test from both guys, they're both great running backs. I'm not taking anything away from Nick Chubb, but I'm got to stick with my gut. I just said Kareem Hunt would eventually take over, and I'm going to stick with that because it seems pretty even, which is more than I could have asked for already.
Aetan, I personally, after seeing that game and definitely the usage, I personally wouldn't be able to go away from Nick Chubb. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the question, the way it's worded, it's ridiculous to say anything but Chubb. This guy is, I like how Randy Stick handled his question, or the answer saying draft capital. But if the question is who would you rather have, it's a no doubt, no brainer. Nick Chubb is the guy. He's the guy that's, he's the guy that they're going to open the game with, and they're going to try to close the game with him in situations. He's absolutely dynamite. He's one of the most talented running backs in this league by a huge margin. I mean, the way that guy attacks holes, and he's a very violent runner, and he's very fun to watch. But you know what this reminds me of? This whole team watching this game. I mean, let's not get too crazy. We are talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, who at this point, even though we're highlighting how good their offense looks, I seriously think this team's going to win 3 games because that defense is just really bad. Like they got so many holes on that defense. But this looks like the 2017 Saints with Ingram and with Kamara. I mean, you got both of these guys. I think they both finished in the top 6, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know if Hunt and Chubb can both do that, but these guys could actually finish both top 15, no problem. And this is by far the best tandem in football right now, in my opinion. And it's going to be fun to watch this team go, as long as they don't get blown out and Mayfield doesn't look like he's lost out there throwing ridiculous picks like he did today. But besides that, he looked really good. And I
What
think
was that?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think he was watching the blitzer because he had a guy coming right at him, and then he just sort of glanced up, saw a guy, and didn't see the second guy, and just threw it. And the second guy just stepped in and undercut the route. But he can't make that throw for sure. But
No,
I really do think that if this team can stay on the positive side of the score, they're gonna be a very dominant dominant team based on this run game. If they can play their style of football, they're going to win a lot of football games. The question is, can they play their style of football? If they start going down in games, are they going to be able to come back? That's the big question mark with them.
I don't know, man. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Sunday Night Football. We're going to be seeing a Super Bowl rematch between the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. And we finally got a chance this past Sunday to see what the Patriots look like without Tom Brady. So, of course, Cam Newton came in. He was running the show, and he brought in a new element to the offense that we haven't seen before. Dev, you must be really excited about this new direction for Bill Belichick and his squad.
Excited? I'm not quite excited yet, but I am impressed, I will say, with what they've been able to do. Granted, against the Miami Dolphins, so not to take any slouch on the Miami Dolphins, but I will say I did like what they did. Cam Newton looked calm in the pocket. He was picking passes off. He ran 2 touchdowns in. The guy looked serious. And when you combine that with a Bill Belichick defense, anything's possible.
Yeah, like you were saying, he ran in 2 touchdowns, 75 yards on 15 carries. And he did what he needed to do. He managed the game as far as the passing game was concerned. So he went 15 of 19 for 155 yards. And like you said, with that advanced defense, the Patriots can do a lot of damage for sure. On the other side of the coin, Russell Wilson was unstoppable for the Seahawks in their road win against the Atlanta Falcons. He completed 31 of 35 passes for 322 yards, 4 interceptions.
Interceptions?
4 incompletions.
Is he on defense now too? Oh shit! Why don't we play IDP? Why don't we play IDP leagues?
Oh my gosh! Sorry. Quick, get Russell Wilson. Pick him up for your IDP slot.
Okay. Sorry.
4 incompletions with 0 interceptions. So like. I'm sorry. I write really poorly, apparently. And he also led the team in rushing with 29 yards on 3 carries, which was nuts. It's pretty crazy to think that Chris Carson managed to get 21 yards on 6 carries, still ended up with 2 passing touchdowns in that game. So that was very impressive. So, of course, we're looking at the Seahawks are a -4 favorite going into the game, and it looks like the total's at 45. So start, sit, Dev, start Cam Newton.
Yeah, you start Cam Newton. If it depends on if that's your only quarterback, then yeah, you definitely start him. But it depends on who you have on your roster, obviously. But I would trust Cam Newton in that he's gonna get some action. He's gonna get something done.
Oh, he's getting some action for sure. And those who are in Superflex leagues start him with confidence for sure. Of course, on the Seahawks side, I would say you love the usage that you saw out of both DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. That is one exciting offense for sure. I personally think the Seahawks are going to win. I'm kind of a homer that way. But in a realistic sense, we are looking at a really great defense versus a really great defense. Jamal Adams was all over the field in that Atlanta game. I think you're going to see more of that. Of course, the Patriots are used to Jamal Adams, seeing as how he did come from the Jets. So it will be interesting to see what Bill Belichick has schemed up. Dev, you're going to take your Patriots, aren't you?
No, I think that the Seattle's going to win.
Wow.
I think that Russell Wilson, as Bill Belichick alluded to in his most recent interview, is the best football player on the planet right now today. So
is that just the Bill Belichick curse? He talks up a player. He's like, "Oh, Jonnu Smith is the best tight end I've ever seen," and then he goes and kicks the crap out of the Titans. Isn't that the same thing?
No, it just is. It's a respect thing. It's a respect thing, and then it means more to them if they're able to beat someone like that.
Oh, and so it's a motivational thing.
Yeah.
I see. I see. So there's no chance that you and I are going to get some sort of side bet going on, your team versus my team.
Well, I mean, if you give me some kind of odds, maybe, but I would put if I were to be a betting man, I hate to bet against the Patriots, but I would bet against them in this scenario. So
Wow. Wow. You guys have 6 championships. Just take the bet. Lose for a change. God.
sure,
Aetan,
let's take a bet. Let's take a bet. Let's
let's
go.
do it. Let's take a bet. Let's go. Let's figure this out. Well, Aetan, how about you and Randy talk about your game of the week?
Yeah, so we're gonna highlight the probably in both of our opinions the most offensive on paper game. We got the Dallas Cowboys, my team, which I obviously am going to pick my own team to talk about because it's the funnest team to talk about, and and the Atlanta Falcons, which this game is looking like it's going to be an absolute blowout, which is what I'm hoping for. There's definitely some concerns that I have with this team. they're trying to get a bet going in the chat right now. There's definitely some concerns I have with what the Cowboys showed last week. Right now, they're actually down 4 offensive linemen, and also they're dealing with their center retiring last year, Fredrickson, who was a multi-Pro Bowler. So I am worried about what this offensive line is looking like, especially based on what I saw LA do to it. Dak really didn't have a lot of time to arrow the ball out, but I think against this Atlanta defense, there's going to be some opportunity for him to get back into the positive side here and put up some big numbers here. If you had all three, Randy, if you had all 3 of the main Dallas Cowboy receivers, being CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, and Cooper, would you bench any of them, or would you be pretty comfortable playing any of them?
It would definitely depend on my roster construction, but just in a vacuum, I would be comfortable playing basically anyone in this game. I wrote a blog post recently where I talked about this game, where I was just basically like, play everyone in this matchup and come away with 150 points and be happy about it. I even said that if you were in a situation where you had been overcome by the injuries to receivers such as Michael Thomas, Kenny Golladay, Courtland Sutton, that flexing Russell Gage was not outside the realm of possibility as a profitable play for this week. So, yeah, basically anyone in this matchup, just get your hands on it and put them in play if it's at all feasible.
Yeah, and I just want to add on to the Russell Gage comment that you made there is a strategy in fantasy football is and always has been to handcuff your elite running backs. I mean, there's a reason people have people like Madison and Pollard stashed away. I think Russell Gage is the definition of probably one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver handcuff. Because if Julio or if Calvin Ridley go down, this guy's going to be a significant fantasy player. Would you agree with that, Randy?
100% agree. Julio and Ridley have both proven themselves to be fantasy studs. That offense is just one where, frankly, they're going to be trailing a lot. They're going to be airing it out a lot. So whoever slots in as a receiver is going to be fantastic on that team. And Russell Gage has obviously proven himself capable enough. 100% worth owning, and heaven forbid the worst happens, he's going to be very good on your fantasy teams.
Yeah, so moving along to the tight ends for these two teams, with Jarwin going down for the year for Dallas, they're looking to move to Swartz as their number 1 guy, and then you have Hayden Hurst on the other side of the ball, who had a pretty lackluster performance, quite frankly, for a team that had their quarterback put up 450 yards. Are either of these tight ends something you'd look into?
Well, obviously Hayden Hurst was a fantasy darling going into the offseason. I do have to quote one tweet that I thought was hilarious, ranking the Atlanta target scheme as far as receivers went. It was Ridley, Julio, Gage, throwing the football into the ground, Hayden Hurst. Yeah, I mean, obviously a joke, but it was a rough outing for a guy who was expected to just kind of slot into the Austin Hooper role and be a superstar right away. I think there's going to be some growing pains, but Hayden Hurst is definitely worth holding on to. He's just going to take some time. He's like any other receiver on a new team, so be patient with that one, but don't expect a breakout right away.
Is he the type of player that if you had him, you'd be looking at maybe stashing one of these other high-end tight ends just as an insurance policy, or are you pretty comfortable that he can be your tight end one all season?
He was in that range. I was a little interesting this year, and usually I don't draft more than one tight end, but this year I found in a lot of spots that if I had waited past the presumptive top 5, that I was very much drafting 2 lottery flyers, and Hayden Hurst was in that range. So for me, it doesn't really change anything. I feel like he's in that group that can pop off, but that group is very much like you need 2 of them just as an insurance. Like you're not getting an every week guy right away. That's just not happening.
I got to say that I think on an earlier episode I was saying I was very against the idea of drafting 2 tight ends because I've always kind of been with the impression of you just get one of them and then you waiver the other. But as the season's getting closer and as we've hit week 1, I got to say I've completely changed my tune, and I agree fully with what Randy just said. I do like the idea of taking, if you have one of the high risk ones that you're pretty high on, I do like the idea of grabbing 2 of them and riding it out a week or 3 and seeing which one outperforms the other and then moving on from the other. But just to wrap up this match, you said start everyone in this fantasy matchup. I'm just going to throw a little caveat in there and say do not start either of these teams' defenses.
Absolutely not.
Oh, I love that take. Great job, guys. Let me just quickly jump in with a couple things, though. I love that whole Russell Gage talk. I felt like there are a few wide receivers that are pretty much in that handcuff territory. Do you guys think that Emmanuel Sanders ends up being the Saints' wide receiver handcuff for Michael Thomas, who's just gone down for a few weeks?
I'll jump in quickly. No, I don't think so. I mean, you cannot compare the two. They're way too different of players. This is going to be a by committee wide receiver thing, and I think you're actually going to see the biggest person that benefits from Michael Thomas going down is Latavius Murray. I think they're going to run the ball more. They're going to be more aggressive on the ground, and I think he's the one that's going to benefit the most from him going out. Sanders will see an uptick, obviously, but I don't really see Sanders getting more than 7 to 8 targets a game, and he's just not that physical presence that Michael Thomas is. He's a little bit smaller, he's a little bit quicker, he's a little bit shiftier. He's not going to just out muscle top corners to get the ball like Thomas does. So he's definitely increased in value, but he's not. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1 with Thomas out. I don't even know if he's a wide receiver 2. I guess we'll find out this week.
I think he'd be a wide receiver too, but I totally agree with that. It might be Jared Cook season. Michael Thomas is out. The second thing, Hayden Hurst, on the Hayden Hurst thing, watching the Seahawks Atlanta game last Sunday, I would definitely say that Hayden Hurst was the subject of some poor situations as well. So like he could have easily had 5 to 6 catches. It's just a few situational plays where there was a couple where he and Matt Ryan were not on the same page. And then there was definitely some defensive breakups, a whole lot of defensive breakups. So it'll be interesting to see if that carries over to this game for sure.
Well, speaking of carrying over, I'm going to just throw this at you guys. I'm wondering because there's not been any preseason, right? We've never seen anything like this. Everything is new for all these guys, for us watching, us analyzing, and everybody involved. So I'm wondering if there is going to be a situation where maybe it takes them 4 or 5 games and then they start getting some normal action, You start seeing some more regularity out of the defenses. You're going to start seeing defenses like intercepting, sacking guys, getting more unison together. So it's a long season, man. It's going to take some time. So, but I'm just saying, like, just hang on there.
Yeah.
things are gonna switch around pretty quick, I think.
Well, it's funny you say that because when I think of the last Thursday night game a week ago, I would say that Kansas City Chiefs squad was probably as vanilla as you're going to see a Kansas City Chiefs squad. And they still did phenomenal, of course, thanks to, in part, their phenomenal rookie running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I managed to work him into another show. I'm so proud. But let's not talk about him. Let's go ahead and talk about probably one of the most exciting rookie running backs this season, and it looks like it might be all systems go for Jonathan Taylor. Randy, what do you think?
I think we're about to see liftoff here. A lot of people talk about the split of Naheem Hines. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but
That's close enough.
all right, close enough for our purposes. But Hines, he was very good on Sunday. He had 2 touchdowns, a good rushing split, a good receiving split. But one thing that was very much overlooked is that split sharply decreased as soon as the Mac injury happened. And Taylor kind of took over, and I'm kind of expecting that going into the rest of the year. I mean, Taylor is a phenomenal talent, and he's going to command a lot of touches. We are going to be endlessly talking about Jonathan Taylor versus Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year, and frankly, I'm not looking forward to it. I've already had enough of it, and we're little more than a week into the season. I really just would love to see both guys succeed as rookies, do great, and that's about all I have to say about it. I mean, let's see 2 rookies have phenomenal seasons and just leave it at that.
Yeah, I love that. How very Canadian of you, Randy. Let's move on from a running back who has a new fantastic situation to a running back who we're all kind of worried about. And that's, of course, James Conner. Now, if you've watched the podcast, you know that I'm a big James Conner fan. In fact, there's a lot of people who have who were talking about during draft season that James Conner was potentially the steal of draft season. Aetan, are you still feeling like Conner can provide some value?
I got hyped up with him over the off season, and as I talk to people like Ryan, who, as you can see with CEH, when he finds a player he really likes, he really hypes it up. So I got a lot of James Conner talk in my ear, and I started buying into it. I started buying into it, but this is a player who's just got done fighting cancer. He had he had a very serious off season, and he starts week 1 and he looks terrible for the first I think it was 7 carries. I think he put up 9 yards, and then he hurt his ankle, and they said he was fine. There was no news all game. They basically just sat him on the bench and said, the heck with you. We're going to go with our other guy. I think he was able to play, maybe. I don't know. Like, he was wrapped and he was still dressed, ready to go, but they didn't want to give him any chance because Snell was dominating the game. So if I'm a Conner owner, I'm very, very worried. I definitely don't like what I saw week 1. I definitely don't like the fact that this guy has a massive list of injuries already in his very short career, mixed in with fighting cancer. I mean, it's pretty darn sad, basically, seeing this talented individual, young man, go through so much wear and tear on his young body. But when we're talking about fantasy football and you want to talk about stats, you want to talk about winning, I don't like the chances this guy's giving you week in, week out. I hope if you're a Conner owner, you've went out and you've gotten Snell or you've gotten McFarland just in case, because even if he comes back and his ankle's fine, I don't know what we're going to see out of him. I don't know if he's the same person anymore. It didn't look good week 1, and it's kind of sad.
It was fairly disappointing for sure. I do have to admit, though, I drafted Benny Snell in every league that I drafted James Conner. Did you manage to pick up Benny Snell?
I did in the one pool that I do have Connor, and I definitely overpaid for him big time with my fab budget, but I don't have any regrets. That's why we have a fab budget is you blow it on players that you need, and I also have Bell in that pool, so seeing two of my running backs go down week one, I was definitely
Yikes.
hitting the a nervous button, and
Yep.
yeah, I definitely invested in Snell. So yeah, it's definitely worth grabbing him. Unfortunately, by the time this podcast comes out, I'm assuming that Snell will probably be owned in over 80% of people's pools. So if he
absolutely.
isn't, check your waiver wire and grab him if he's still there somehow. But
It's got to be
yeah,
impossible.
we'll see what unfolds there. It's going to be interesting. They're even saying if Connor's healthy and ready to go, this could be now a 50-50 backfield. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say something real quick
Yeah, go
about
for it.
Pittsburgh. I really like Deontay Johnson, and if you guys are in a tough situation where you're not sure who to put in your flex, or you have an extra flex spot or something like that, Deontay Johnson had 10 targets last game. Big Ben likes him, so 10 targets is nothing to play with. Like that's serious. So just keep that in mind. That I'm not going to do it, but I might do it. But I'm just saying, like, just keep it out there. Keep it out there.
Yep.
I love that. That is hilarious. Okay, so Randy, you raised your hand. Were you raising your hand because you wanted to contribute to the podcast, or did you raise your hand because you had Benny Snell?
Oh, I was just actually going to contradict your whole spiel that, ooh, I drafted Benny Snell everywhere. Actually, no, I drafted Benny Snell and then traded him to you for Jalen Reagor.
Oh yeah,
That was a good trade.
I mean,
I don't
that
mind
trade's
trade.
definitey worked out better for you so far, but
So far. Well, I mean, Rager
just
could
wanted to
still be
point that
good.
out.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, hey,
I know, but
I spent some resources, and it was actually like prior to week one that we made that trade too. I think that's important to put out there because I don't think that trade doesn't happen after week one. There's no way.
Actually, it was prior to Jalen Reagor's injury. Actually, literally a day prior to Jalen Reagor's injury.
I felt like a
because
jerk.
we both had a hilarious conversation about it where you were just like, "I'm really sorry, man," and I'm just like, "That's fantasy. What do you do?"
Yeah. No, it's true. But going back to Devan's point, I just love the fact that it's a lot easier to trust targets. Sometimes you don't see the production happen immediately, but you can trust the targets. Obviously, if they're getting a target share like that, that means that they're going to be utilized in that offense. And if there's anyone who can utilize a wide receiver in any offense, it's definitely Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, that's just it. And it may not happen this week. I'm just saying, like, they obviously like his talent. They like what he has to offer. 10 targets week one. That's nothing to sniff at. So just hold on to him. Even if you're not ready to play him yet, just hold on to him.
Yeah. Aetan, when you're let's finish up with you. Looking at Big Ben after coming back from that horrendous surgery and being out all of last year, what are your initial impressions on that Steelers offense?
My initial impression when I was watching it is he seemed off. And that's funny saying that because he had a 65% completion rate. He threw for 230 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So he actually had a pretty decent game, but you could tell the zip wasn't there that I think he normally can give. So I definitely agree with Devan's take here. I mean, if he's getting 10 targets and if Ben just improves, 3%, which is obviously going to happen, he's going to catch more of those balls. They're going to be placed a little bit better. And I think it's a great offense to attack, which is another reason why I'm kind of a fan of attacking the backfield there and making sure you handcuff Connor with Snell. Is this is a team that can definitely put up some points offensively. They have for generations, it seems like they've always been kind of a very good offense. So as long as Ben's there and he's healthy and he recovers the way that we all think he will, I think this is a good offense to be targeting players from.
That's awesome. Sometimes you just got to take shots at players that you like. And speaking of taking shots, well, Devan and I have figured out what the bet is. Dev, tell our listening audience.
Well, it's not that anything fancy, but we're just gonna go shot for shot. So if I lose, I have to do a shot, and so basically, I'm cheering for the Patriots. I'm a Patriot fan, as most of you may or may not know, and you probably all hate me now. If those that don't know, but I do have a Canuck hat on, so fuck you.
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm just saying. I'm just
You
saying.
just become more hated.
I'm just saying, cool down a bit. Cool down a bit. And then Ryan is another shot. So it's a shot for shot, and Patriots versus Seahawks, shot for shot. That's what's going to happen. If the Patriots win, he has to take a shot. If the Seahawks win, I have to take a shot, and that's what we're
pretty
going to
much.
do.
But we don't necessarily have to take the shot right away. What we're going to do is we're actually going to start tabulating a shot board. So we're going to have a little fancy graphic because we love having fancy graphics on this show. And we're going to keep totals of how many shots. So that's what we do on the show from now on. We bet in shots. Aetan.
Well, then if that's the case, me and Randy have a shot bet. I'm going Cowboys. He's going Falcons.
There you go.
I love how you
Right
just
away.
told Randy that. You're just like, this is what's happening.
It's what's happening. We previewed the game. We might as well do a shot.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
How about you just put me on the board to drink 3 shots? Whatever. I don't care.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
we'll drink the 3 shots anyways, but yeah, we're gonna keep a shot board just to have fun and figure out whoever gets the most drunk at the end of the season. Well, they're the ones who have had the worst takes.
There you
Dev,
go.
any final words for all of us? Randy. Dev, what are your final words for us? Did you learn anything today?
I learned that I think that there's a good possibility that anything I'm telling you guys right now is going to turn into absolute garbage because everything keeps changing so quickly in this league with COVID-19 and everything that's going on right now. It's so hard to keep on top of everything. But what I learned is God bless ya. God love ya. And cheers. Happy fantasy football. Go Canucks, go.
Happy fantasy football indeed. Thank you for that. Aetan, parting words for our listening audience.
Well, I guess I'll go back to my weird take with Drew Sample. Take a look at him if you're looking for a tight end. If you want to do that 2 tight end set thing that we were talking about, and definitely keep an eye open for Benny Snell if he's available. Grab him. And I can't wait for another exciting weekend of football for all the games coming up here. It's gonna be a lot of fun seeing what happens here. And good luck in your guys' pools. Not you guys that I'm talking to. Anyone that's watching, good luck to you guys. I hope these 3 guys all lose somehow, even if they're playing each other. I hope they tie and then both lose on default or something. But anyways,
Actually,
thanks for watching.
I'm playing against Tyler. You're cheering for me.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Anyone but Tyler. Randy. All right. Parting shots. What's up?
You know what? I'm just going to go back on the thing I've been preaching all year, every year. In the first couple of weeks of the season, don't get cute. Start your studs. I'm up against a guy in one league who decided to bench OBJ, and I'm just like, all right, cool. Thanks for the free points. You just benched your 4th round draft pick, and he put up a respectable stat line. Thank you for the free points.
That's such a phenomenal take. I love that. What did I learn today? Well, what I learned was why complain about football? So it was the Bengals and the Browns, people. Guess what? That was a hell of a way to spend a Thursday night. And I'll tell you what, getting a chance to spend Thursday night with you gentlemen is just as cool. Thank you so much for joining us. And for Devan, Aetan, Randy, I am Ryan, and thank you so much for watching the CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. Win yourself an Amari Cooper jersey that's signed. We'll see you next time.
I think I'm going to win because I'm keeping subscribing.
No, You're on the show. You can't win.
Oh,
Devin.
but
He's
We've
making
talked
fake
about-
accounts.
I thought I
Burner
had
accounts.
Yeah,
No.
I keep creating new accounts because I want
Guys,
us to
no.
win. I want us to win that jersey.
We want real subscribers. We don't.
Oh, I
We'll
thought
get
you
'em.
wanted me
We'll
to
get 'em.
just win
They're
the
right
jersey.
here. Welcome, guys.
Oh, okay,
Go-
whatever. I thought I was doing good for us, but apparently I'm not.
Join us in our drive for 500 subscribers, and you could win a signed Amari Cooper jersey. Are you new to the channel? Give us a like, subscribe, and click the notify bell. It helps a ton for a new channel like ours. We're going to have a random draw for a signed Amari Cooper jersey shipped anywhere in North America. So go ahead, click subscribe, and thank you for watching the CANAM Fantasy Football Podcast.